Level 1. The Applicant. You're 18, and you didn't stumble into this. You chose it. You walk into a military recruitment office in a quiet town where the fluorescent lights hum just a bit too loud and the air smells like floor wax and old coffee. The recruiter doesn't smile. He's seen 1,000 kids who think they're good at computers because they built a gaming rig or messed around with scripts in their bedroom. He slides a thick packet across the desk: medical standards, vision requirements, and a background questionnaire that asks about every address you've lived at since you were in diapers. You'll read every page that night. You realize quickly that the army isn't just testing whether you can code. It's testing whether you'll still function when every condition around you is engineered to make you stop. Out of 300 people who apply this cycle, only 40 are selected. And your name is on that list. You walk out into the parking lot, look up at the sky, and realize that your old life ended the moment you signed that form. That thought will cost you everything, and it will be worth it. Level 2. The Filter. You're 19, and you arrive at basic training while the sun is still a suggestion on the horizon. They give you a number before they give you a name. You run until the humidity feels like a physical object pressing against your chest, and you crawl through the mud because they want to know if your hands shake under pressure. One morning, a classmate named Taurus whispers during a night run that this is designed to make you quit. He says it like a warning, but you hear it like a dare. You learn here something that no classroom will ever teach. The body quits long before the mind actually has to. You're not just training your lungs, you're training your judgment. Because in the invisible war you're heading toward, there are no second chances. Level 3. The Student. You're 20. They call it the Superman School for Digital Warfare. The pipeline is one of the longest in the military. Nearly 2 years of constant evaluation where the classroom is harder than the field. You spend 14 hours a day in a windowless room, staring at hexadecimal strings that look like static until they don't. You study aerodynamics, meteorology, and the laws of armed conflict, learning the language of the wire before you're allowed to speak it. Your instructor, a captain named Diaz, has zero patience for excuses. One morning, he tells you that the hardest part isn't the technology, it's remembering there's something on the other end of the screen. You fail your first instrument check, and you watch a talented kid from Georgia get reassigned to logistics because he froze during a simulated strike. You don't freeze. You land your first solo on a simulated breach, and your legs feel strange afterward, like the physical world is surprised to have you back. Level 4. The Junior Operator. You're 22, and you wear the badge for the first time. It's a small piece of metal, smaller than you imagined, and it feels heavier than it looks. You're assigned to a squadron where the hum of the server sits inside your teeth, and the air is kept at a precise chilly temperature that never changes. You're the sensor operator now, the second seat, watching a digital pattern of life for 6 hours where nothing moves. You learn that nothing happening is often the mission working perfectly. You watch a market open in a city 4,000 miles away. You watch children walking to school and a man fixing a motorcycle outside a yellow building. You file your reports. And one night, at 2 a.m., your lead, a senior officer named Calloway, tells you that the mission isn't over until the data is secure. Everything before that is just the work. You write that down and you don't forget it. Level 5. The Operator. You're 25, and you've been selected for an elite task force. You've logged 1,000 hours in the system, and that number matters below 1,000 hours. You're still learning what the tools can do. Above 1,000, you start to understand what you can do with them. You're no longer just watching. You're the one who decides. You sit in a padded chair while the guy before you leaves a half-eaten granola bar on the console, and you prepare to lead a 2-ship digital formation. Your first real-world tasking comes on a Thursday. You have 11 minutes to decide if a digital signature is a high-value threat or a civilian mistake. You call your intelligence liaison, and she says it's your call. You authorize the strike, and the screen goes white, then smoke, then nothing. Afterward, the debrief lasts longer than the mission. You drive home and stop at an Arby's, watching a family argue about a soccer game, and you no longer try to explain what a long night actually means. Level 6 is less than #0. 5# is greater than the team leader. You're 29, and you lead a 4-man element where leadership is about precision, not authority. You run your team through rehearsals because you know what a hesitant lead costs, seconds that translate into lost assets or lost lives. You have a younger operator named Okafor, who is technically gifted but hesitates on the final trigger. You spend 3 months running him through decision scenarios, not to teach him answers, but to teach him that a late correct decision and a wrong one often cost the same. By the end of the year, Okafor doesn't hesitate. You realize something. The pipeline never taught you directly. A great operator can save a life, but a great team leader can save lives, plural. Because the team is only as decisive as the person calling the shots. Level 7. The instructor. You're 34, and you return to the heart of the pipeline to build the people who will do what you did. You teach technical standards, but mostly, you teach threshold, the internal line between quitting and continuing. A trainee named Whitfield is the strongest in the class, but in week 6, he walks up to you during a drill and says, "I'm done." You don't argue. You just tell him he'll spend the rest of his life knowing this was the moment. He rings the bell and he's gone by morning. Some nights, you wonder if you should have said something different. Then you remember you can give men the training, but you cannot give them the decision to use it. Level 8. The strategic advisor. You're 41, and you oversee multiple teams across the wing. Your desk has a phone that rings at odd hours, and you're responsible for the hard decisions that don't fit in any manual. You sit in rooms where generals use the word asset to mean things that used to mean people. You write the reports that protect the young operators who made the right call but couldn't prove it, operators like a kid named Martinez, who deviated from protocol to save a mission. You spend 2 days on 4 paragraphs, choosing every word carefully. You understand that the bureaucracy is the bridge between capability and consequence, and someone has to hold it together. You hold it together. Level 9. The general. You're 48, and you wear stars on your shoulder. You do not fly the desk anymore. You represent the force in planning sessions that shape the doctrine of the next 20 years. You testify before Senate subcommittees, and a senator asks you if this kind of warfare reduces the psychological cost of the mission. The room is quiet. The cameras are on. You've watched good people come apart quietly in parking lots at 7 a.m., and you lean into the microphone and tell them the truth. It changes the cost. It doesn't remove it. Truth spoken with rank behind it is one of the rarest things in the world, and you finally earn the right to say it. Level 10. The legacy. You're 55, and you retire on a Tuesday. The speeches are kind, and the folded flag is precise. A young officer you trained years ago reads your service record, and he mispronounces one name, but you don't correct him. You think about Torres and his warning in the mud. You think about Reyes and his name in the dark. You think about Calloway's voice in a dusty debrief. You tell a reporter that the job meant that when everything else failed, we didn't. You drive home. Your uniform goes into a garment bag, and your badge sits on a shelf next to a photo of your element from years ago. You realize that you were never just a weapon. You were always a decision. The mission doesn't end. It just transfers to the next kid who walks into that recruiting office with shaking hands and a choice to make.